I grew up as a child with a goal to earn a PhD. My family will tell you that. As a child, I told my family I wanted a PhD. I told my mother as a child, a little boy, I told her I wanted a PhD. She said, Michael, she held my hand. She looked in my eyes. She said, Michael, you're smart. She said, I have no doubt you'll make it, but you have to make up in your mind that that's what you want to do and keep your mind focused on your goals. And I have no doubt you'll make it. I had my mind made up. My mind was truly made up. I was getting off the street. I knew I did not belong there. I knew I didn't belong. I knew I did not want to be there. And I knew it was time for me to get up off my behind and do something about it. So that's what I did. I went full steam ahead. I was charging toward housing. I went with a purpose to get housing, and I got it.
Hello and welcome to The Real with Dr. Wendi, where we have real talk, real tools, and real change. I am your host, Dr. Wendi Watson, and I have the honor and the pleasure of having an awesome guest today, Dr. Michael Watkins. So, Dr. Watkins, welcome. We're so glad to have you on this platform today. How are you this morning?
I am well, Dr. Wendy. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your podcast. Thank you.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, the honor is certainly mine. And so today we are going to just kind of talk about your story from hopelessness to hope, 20 years of homelessness, 15 years in addiction, and the journey to earning your doctoral degree.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So let's just jump right on in. Can you take us back to the beginning as to what led you into homelessness?
I can, Dr. Wendy. What led me into homelessness was at the time I was working at McDonald's at Shaw University. That was the first job I had when I moved to Raleigh. And I had worked there for a while, and there was a promotion, an in-house promotion that me and I think three others of us were in the running for. And on the day of the promotion that our boss gave out the promotion, he gave the promotion to someone, a third party. I mean, someone who was not even employed in our store. Someone that none of us had ever seen in our lives. So this girl comes up and she wins the promotion. And the next day when she starts the job, she says, Michael, can you tell me how to do this? Michael, can you tell me how to do that? I said, stop right there. I said, now you beat me out of this promotion and you got this job over me because you're supposed to know it better than I do. And you're asking me to train you on it? I'm not doing that. And apparently my boss overheard the conversation and he came to scold me regarding it. Now, Michael, we are a team environment, and you know we're supposed to help one another in this team environment. And he followed up by sharply saying, "If you don't want to help, you know what you can do." I said, "I most certainly do." I got right to the time clock, clocked out, and went home. I did. I went home,
So,
and I thought, and I was in my anger. I thought I was hurting the store, which I was at the time because it was a lunch rush. It was very busy, and I just left. I walked right out and went home. They called my house. They knocked on my door. I did ignored them all, and
yeah.
the reality set in that Friday. A couple of days later, that I no longer had a job and I no longer could pay my rent, and I had no idea what I was going to do. So I walked down to Moore Square Park. I walked downtown, which led me to Moore Square Park, and I just sat there on a park bench. I was tastefully dressed. I had on slacks, shirt, a tie, dress shoes. I was very tastefully dressed. And someone came and sat beside me and said, they said, you look like you need someplace to stay. And I'm looking at him sideways and I said, okay, yeah, I do. Why? He said, well, there's a bus that's coming in a few minutes that'll take us to the overflow. I said, what's the overflow? He said, it's a place where you can spend the night. I said, okay. So he said, just stick with me and I'll show you how it works. So I went with him across the street to say in front of the Salvation Army at Moore Square Park in downtown Raleigh. And we were in this big, huge blue bus came. And I saw all these guys running across the street to line up for the bus. So I'm in line. And I get on the bus. I begin to get on the bus, and most of the guys are yelling, 5-0, one time, man down. I'm like, wait a minute, where? so,
Wow.
so I sit down. I get a seat, man. And the guy that led me there, he was telling me, say, yeah, they just said that because they haven't seen you before, and you're dressed differently than we are.
Oh. So
so
they were referring to you,
yes, they thought
5-0.
because I was dressed in nice clothes, they thought I was a cop.
Wow.
So they saw me at the. I was in line at the overflow shelter when the bus let us off, and the guys at first asked me, "What are you doing here?" And then I felt like I didn't belong immediately. I really felt like I did not belong, or they didn't want me there. They're like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I need somewhere to stay, obviously." And they let me in. I got in. They did not have a bed for me that night. I had to sleep on the floor.
Uh-huh.
They gave me a mat, and I had to find a spot on the floor to sleep on. Um, that was the biggest culture shock for me in my life. That moment when I
Yeah.
was homeless and had nowhere to sleep, and I was in this new environment that I was completely alien to, a shelter. I've never heard of a shelter in my life. Never at that point. I didn't know anything about homelessness or anything like that because I was young. I was naive to life. I didn't know anything about the dangers of this life. I didn't, not to that degree about
Yeah.
homelessness. You know,
Yeah.
when my youth, I knew about bums, or I heard about bums or winos, but that's all I did. I may have heard or seen one here or there, but that's about it. I never knew the inner workings of it. That the inner workings of it was homelessness,
Yeah.
and that's how my journey began.
And so over those 20 years, because, as you tell your story, you had a job, you were paying your bills, and you made a decision to quit because you got upset. And so, sometimes not being able to self regulate our emotions,
Yeah,
right, in the moment.
yeah,
And so, as you mentioned, being young. And so, a lot of times, being young, we don't know how to regulate our emotions. And
that's
so, we
right.
make hasty decisions, and your hasty decision caused you homelessness. And so, and it sounds like it happened very quickly.
It did. It did. It was very quick. I didn't have, before it happened, Dr. Wendy, I never knew anything about homelessness or heard the word homeless before. I'd never been exposed to anything like that. So it was completely alien to me.
And that just also shows that not only, bums, if you will, are susceptible to homelessness or being in a place of homelessness, right? Or
Right.
unhoused. And so, most of us are a paycheck away from being unhoused.
Yeah.
And so, that's definitely a testament to where anyone could be.
It is.
It's no type of person that can experience what you experienced. So, over those 20 years, what was life like for you? Because you said you were homeless for 20 years.
Yes. It was I experienced a myriad of emotions and feelings and experiences. Oh my God, I did. Initially, it was the greatest culture shock in my life because I'd never experienced it. I didn't know what to do, where to go, how to live. I didn't know what to expect. I just did not know from one minute to the next. So I hung around others who were homeless. I hung around others who were
Yeah.
homeless, and I listened to them. And I noticed a lot what things were going on around me, and I began to see that I was trying to navigate this thing by myself. I was initially. I thought I don't belong here. That was my mindset at the time. I don't belong here. I got to get out of this. And so I tried to find my way out of it. I tried, but
Yeah.
it didn't quite happen as I had intended.
Yeah. So, years went by and it becomes a culture, right? It becomes a community. And so you mentioned that you hung around people who were homeless, and so with it becoming a community, what is it that people misunderstand about homelessness?
I think what the public largely misunderstands about homelessness is that they seem to think that people are just running to become homeless. Wrong, 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 wrong. You could not be more wrong.
Yeah.
People are not just running to become homeless. I think those who have never been homeless, who are or newly to becoming homeless, I guess they don't know what's involved. They don't until they get into it. And when they get
Yeah.
into it, it's a little bit too late unless you have some resource to get out of it with. But most of us, we don't want to be homeless. We don't want to stay homeless. But there are some people who are more comfortable being homeless. They don't want to fight the system anymore. I wasn't one of those. I was one who dared to challenge the system. Every day I was homeless, I challenged the system until I got out of it.
Yeah. So one of the things that is misunderstood is that people who are homeless want to be homeless. And you're saying that is a misconception.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a gross misconception, yes. I
Yeah.
mean, granted, there may be one or two that don't mind being homeless, sure. There are a couple of those. But by far and by large, the gross majority of everybody does not, they don't want to be homeless. They want to find a way out. Um,
Yeah.
they don't want to be in the system. They don't. The system is not the place to be. It isn't. Even after I've been out of homelessness now for almost 20 years. And but 16 years now. And even though I've been out all this time, I don't feel like I've made it. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I've made it. I still have to walk on pins and needles because at any given instant, I can make a decision that I can lose. But all I've worked for over the years, and I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah. So not wanting to, so right now, even though you have been housed for the last 16 years, based on your experience, that just kind of motivates you to maintain your housing, maintain stability. And so now, because 20 years is a long time, and if we're saying yes, for you, you didn't want to be homeless, what was some of the barriers that you encountered in trying to get out of that situation?
Oh wow. Well, first they're the stereotypes, the societal stereotypes. Society will think because you're homeless, you want to be homeless. By far and
Uh-huh.
by large, they will. They will think because you're homeless, you ask for it. That's where you want to be. And most people
Yeah.
in society won't help you because they think that's where you want to be. They think that's where you placed yourself. And they're wrong. They're wrong. Some people may have made a decision. I made a decision that cost me my housing. I didn't even know it, but I did. I made a decision that cost me my housing. I didn't know that it would cost me. I didn't even think about it. I just did. I just reacted out of anger and it cost me
Yeah.
my housing. Um, a lot of people we just don't realize what we're doing before we make these tragic mistakes. So we make such decisions, and the results are cataclysmic. And
Yeah.
such was the case with my hasty decision. And I'm sure others who are homeless have made such hasty decisions in their homelessness that caused them to become homeless.
So one of the barriers is people not wanting to help or not access to resources. Is that was that one of the barriers,
It
not
was.
having access to resources?
Well, that was one of the major barriers, yes, because, when I was homeless, that was in early 1990s. There were no resources. There were no resources for a single man, nowhere. Nowhere. There was no resource for a single man to do anything that was homeless. If a single man was homeless back then, he had to get 2 jobs to try to get off the street. And how do you work 2 jobs living on the street? Please tell me that. It's virtually impossible to do, living on the street with nowhere to keep your things. and nowhere to wash your body and things like that. People don't take into consideration all of those variables that homeless people have to deal with every
Yeah.
day. It's truly a struggle.
Yeah. So, how did addiction become part of your story?
That is a good question, Dr. Wendy. Uh, Addiction became part of my story. Well, I always, as even as a teenager, I always smoked weed. I always used to smoke weed. So that's I had always done that, but it wasn't. I didn't smoke weed to that it was addictive. I just did it recreationally. But when I moved to Raleigh and I became homeless, then I picked up new habits. I started drinking. I started drinking more than I ever did before. I started drinking things I never drank before. I started smoking like I never did before, and smoking things I never did before. It was, I just put on all these new monikers when I became homeless, and they were detrimental to my survival. But when you're out there, survival, I mean, that's the name of the game is survival. And you get
Yeah.
creative in your survival tactics.
So your addiction just kind of um escalated when you were one, unhoused. You're in a community where others are doing things that you've never done, and so you tried it. So then we have social dependence when it's normalized in that community, in that culture. And I'm asking the question, is it normalized, the drinking and the smoking things that you've never smoked before?
In the homeless community, yes. It's not only normalized, it's pretty much expected. It's expected to happen. Expected for every homeless person to drink or drug or do some perform some kind of act that numbs them to the reality of life. Because
Yeah.
that's all we're doing is numbing ourselves to the pain that we feel. Because we don't know how to deal with it.
I'm glad that you said that. It's not, because it can be a misconception that we're doing it because this is what we want to do.
It
Um,
That is a misconception. That's a gross misconception. I never, I when I before I became homeless, I never did drugs. I never did. The only thing I ever did before I became homeless, I smoked a little weed every now and then. That was it. I never touched anything else. Never. And after I became homeless, I began to pick up other things because I wanted to medicate, self-medicate. I wanted to mask the pain, or I thought I was masking the pain, but I was
yeah.
deceiving myself. I was picking up a habit that I didn't need.
That was detrimental to, um, getting out of homelessness.
Well, and during the time I was homeless, there really was no way out for a single man. There wasn't. If you weren't a single woman, there was no resources for you to get out of homelessness. Not in the 90s, there weren't.
And so with that, you can see where the hopelessness comes in.
Correct. Because when I was out there in the 90s, I didn't see it. Like I said, there was no way out for a single man. There wasn't. I went to every entity. I went to Wake County Human Services, DSS, everywhere I went, all said the same thing. You're a single man, you can work two jobs. I said, so can a single woman. I told them, so can a single woman. They sure can. Don't put it all on a man. So can a woman.
Right, right. And I again appreciate you for telling your truth and your story. This is your experience. And so we're not saying this is everybody's experience, but this is yours.
Yes,
And so I appreciate you for sharing your experience. And what you're saying is that back then, your experience was there was no resources for you as a man.
there were no resources for a single man. Period. Not back then. There weren't.
Yeah. 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 So, what role do you think addiction played in keeping you homeless?
Addiction kind of it kind of codified me. It kind of it made me feel like it was all right to medicate, to self-medicate. It's like, it's all right, Mike. It's soothing, it's pacifying, and it was that person I needed to understand what I was going through. Addiction was that person I needed to understand, to listen to when I needed to vent. that person I needed to that person who was there to even understand what I was going through. Addiction.
Yeah.
The only person that was just there to even listen to me rant and rave, or who even cared about what was on my mind or on my heart. Addiction was the only person who cared. And that's who I gave it to. My addictions.
That's a great point you make because in addiction, the drug becomes the friend.
Sure does.
It becomes the everything.
Yes, it does.
And that is what keeps a person in addiction because the isolation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The lack of support is real in homelessness. Believe me, it is. And it can be detrimental to a person's survival.
So what um what was the breaking point? What was the point where just well, what kept you moving forward, one, but then what changed? What happened where you actually got out of homelessness? What changed?
I think the change came when I would say probably around 2007. That's when I started taking steps to make an active change in my life. I had yeah, I think it was in 2007. I had I'd met I used to sing in an a cappella trio back then. I used to sing in an a cappella trio. But this is my album cover, my CD cover
Oh,
from 2007.
wow.
And you see me right there on the far
It
right
said,
side. I,
wait, which one is you on the far?
I am here. I'm right there.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's me.
Nice.
That is. Let me get a better look so you can see me.
Yes, I see
Absolutely. And we had
it.
our CD was called "Lead Me, Guide Me," as you see. Um,
Uh-huh.
and we made that CD, and we we sang that we were performing around Raleigh, and we had performed on Capitol Boulevard one day. We were invited to perform at the barbecue lodge that used to be on Capitol Boulevard in Many City,
Uh-huh.
and we went.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah, we were there at the barbecue lodge on Many City, and we sang there for a group that was there. And after that was over with, one of the guys came up. He said, "Man, you guys are wonderful." He said, "I would like my family to meet you guys." He said, "Would you guys consider coming to my house so my family could meet you?" And so we agreed, and we went. We went to his house,
Now,
and
were you homeless? Were you homeless at the time?
yes, yes, I was very homeless at the time. Yes. Um,
Okay.
and he took us to his house to meet his wife and his daughter. And they welcomed us as if they knew us all our lives. They were so inviting and so kind and so welcoming. I felt like I was in the twilight zone. I'm like, who are these people? I was not accustomed to being treated like that while I was homeless. I was never accustomed to being welcomed into anyone's house when I was homeless. Nobody ever wanted me around because I was homeless. So now here come
Yeah.
these people who are opening their doors to their houses and to their hearts to us. And and they wanted to stay in touch with us. And from that meeting, more people started to come. I met people over at the Hope Center at Pullen Memorial Baptist Church on Hillsborough Street. I met the staff over there and joined forces with them in a program that they had at the time called the Hope Center at Pullen, and where they
Mm,
assigned me to a mentor who walked with me through my journey. And
mhm.
and my mentor walked with me through my journey from homelessness to being housed. They walked me, so they saw me all the way there. They did. They walked me all the way there. They didn't, they didn't force me to do anything. They didn't make me do anything. Everything I did was my decision. Everything I did was my decision. I did it all, I did my own work, but I wanted to get off the street. And I worked diligently to get off the street. I worked very hard to get off the street. I got clean. That was the first thing I did. I got clean from doing drugs. I did that. I started in February of 2007. I got clean. And I've been clean. I've been clean
Congratulations.
since then. I've been clean since that day, February 2007. That's been almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago now.
Yes,
So
19.
thank
Congratulations.
you. You know, it's
Yes.
you know, I I always knew I could get clean, but when I was homeless, I just felt I just didn't have a reason to do it. I didn't have a reason to live at the time. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. I felt I didn't have a reason to live. I didn't have anyone. All I had in my life was me. I didn't have a reason to live for what? Who cares? Who would I matter to?
But you met this mentor, and the mentor you said was able to walk with you,
Yes.
alongside you, and
Yes.
supported you.
They supported me, they encouraged me, they lifted me up when I felt I could no longer do it. They helped me, they kept my mind focused, they kept my sights focused on the finish line, getting my apartment. They kept my sights focused on my goals. They always never let me lose sight of my goals, even through the difficulty, they never let me lose sight of my goals. And I didn't. I did not lose sight of my goals. I kept pressing forward, and I eventually got my apartment on June 26, 2010, the day I moved in.
So you got clean 2007, and then so you were still out there homeless for another 3 years before you got your
About
apartment.
yes, I was. Mhm.
B- So what helped you stay clean and motivated? Was it your mentor?
No, it was my mind. I had my mind made up. My mind was truly made up that I was getting off the street. I knew I did not belong there. I knew I didn't belong. I knew I did not want to be there. And I knew it was time for me to get up off my behind and do something about it. So that's what I did. I went full steam ahead. I was charging toward housing. I went with a purpose to get housing, and I got it. Eventually, I got it. It was a process for me to get housing, but I eventually got it.
Okay, so certainly commitment, changing that mindset, believing in yourself, and, perseverance.
That was difficult too, Dr. Wendy. The portion you mentioned regarding believing in yourself. That
Yeah,
was the most difficult part for me in this entire process was to believe in myself because I lost. I lost any hope I had in myself. I lost any faith I had in myself. I did. I lost it all. I was homeless for over 20 years. I lost it.
yeah,
I mean, I lost it. I did. I mean, I have all the things I used to hold on to, the hopes, the dreams, the goals, I pretty much lost. It used to be I grew up as a child with a goal to earn a PhD. My family would tell you that. As a
yeah,
child, I told my family I wanted a PhD. I told my mother as a child, a little boy, I told her I wanted a PhD. She said, Michael, she held my hand. She looked in my eyes. She said, Michael, you're smart. She said, I have no doubt you'll make it, but you have to make up in your mind that that's what you want to do and keep your mind focused on your goals. And I have no doubt you'll make it. She always told me, you can do it, Mike. You can do it. And I always held true to that. I held strong to those thoughts that my mother always implanted in my mind growing up. She always gave me such pearls of wisdom. She did. And I held on to them. I held on to them.
yes. Train your child up in the way
That's
that he should,
right.
and it shall never depart.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so even though we stray,
Mm,
that foundation, when that foundation is laid, it's there. We something that we come back to. So, yeah, that's certainly a testament to that. And you said, and which is a segue into earning these degrees in 9.5 years. You mentioned that as a young boy, you knew you had a dream,
I
right?
do.
And so in recovery, there's a saying, lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. And so you mentioned, so tell us about, okay, you are no longer homeless, you have your place, and then you earned these 4 degrees in 9.5 years. So tell us about that.
First, let me tell you, on the day that I moved out of homelessness into my apartment, June 26, 2010, on that
Uh-huh.
day, Dr. Wendy, and I want everybody to please listen to this, because this is very, very important. On the day that I moved into my apartment, June 26, 2010, the only thing I owned in the world was contained in 2 garbage bags that were not full. Please understand that. Everything I own in the entire world was contained in 2 garbage bags that were not even full. All
Yeah.
I didn't own any furniture. I didn't own any flat screen TVs, no computers. The only thing I owned was a couple of outfits, a couple of change of clothes, and a blanket and a pillow and a laptop. That was all I had. Well, so when I moved into my apartment that day, I got my keys, I got my lease. I was on top of the world. I went into my apartment. My case manager said his goodbyes. He shook my hand, hugged my neck, congratulated me, and he left. So I was there by myself in an empty apartment, not one stick of furniture in it. I went to every room, Dr. Wendy, and I prayed in every room, and I thank God for my apartment. I did. I thank God in every room in that apartment. I did, and
Yes.
I was so happy, Dr. Wendy. I felt like I won the lottery. Although I didn't have a stick of furniture, I didn't care. I had my apartment, and that's all I needed. And
Yes.
so that was at 1:30 p.m. when I got my keys and my lease and went to my apartment. At 1:45 p.m., I got online on Facebook because I had a laptop. I got online on Facebook and I posted that I had just moved into my apartment. I didn't have any furniture, but I was on top of the world, that I had moved into my apartment. Why did I post that on Facebook? Responses came immediately. And I mean, they came. Hey, Mike, I've got this if you need it. I've got this if you need it. If you need this, I've got that. If you need this, I've got that.
Right.
Let me tell you, Dr. Wendy, I posted that at 1:45 p.m. that day. By 6 o'clock p.m., my apartment was completely furnished. Entirely furnished, Dr. Wendy. Please listen to that. It was entirely furnished. Every single room in that apartment was entirely furnished by 6 p.m. that evening. Every room. Every room.
Wow.
I mean, it was the most amazing. It was the most amazing thing. Help came from everywhere, Dr. Wendy. And I didn't ask for any help. I just posted that I moved into my apartment. I didn't have any furniture. I didn't ask for any help. I just said I moved into my apartment that has no furniture in it, but I was on top of the world. And did help come? Yes, it did. It came left, right, north, south, east, and west. It did. Help came. And I got my place furnished. That was in 2010. My
Yeah.
mother got to see me move into my apartment in 2010. She died in 2012, which broke my heart to no end. Um, when my mother died, I didn't know what to do. I never even imagined living life without my mother. But there
Yeah.
I was without her. It was such a shock. It was such a pain. It was the greatest
Yeah.
pain I've ever known in my life. It was. Then during that time when my mother died, it was as if this is exactly how I felt. I felt as if the greatest part of me had died with her. I really did. That's exactly how I felt paralyzed. I was stultified. I could not move. I couldn't do anything. I didn't want to do anything. I quit doing anything. I quit living. I did. I just couldn't. I didn't want to. I had no reason. My mother was gone. But
Yeah.
one day I was sitting in my apartment one day, Doctor, when this was 3 years afterwards my mother died. I had sat there and I had sat there grieving for 3 years, doing nothing, going nowhere, grieving, grieving, grieving. Woe is me. And one day I sat there and I was watching television and I was sitting there drinking and smoking weed. And I heard of a very distinctive voice I recognized immediately. And that voice said, "Get off of there, boy." I looked around. I'm like, wait a minute, I know I'm tripping. I did. I said, I am tripping. I knew the voice. That was my mother's voice that I heard. I knew it was, and I'm looking around like, so I'm like, yeah, I'm tripping. That's all that is. I'm just tripping. So I wrote it off as paranoia, as hysteria. I'm just tripping. I'm imagining things. So I resumed my activity. So I'm sitting down, continually drink, and I continually smoke my weed. And this time I heard the same voice, but it was even more pronounced. Get off of me, boy. I stood up like a soldier in attention, Dr. Wendy. I'm telling you, I did. I stood up like a soldier in attention. I heard my mother's voice. I knew it. I heard her voice tell me to get up. And I did. I stood up. I stood up to my feet and I was looking around like I was expecting to see my mother somewhere, but I knew she was gone. But I knew what it was. She was telling me to get up, get up, get up. It's time for you to get up, get up, get up. And I did. in fact, my caseworker during that time was Stella Green. She was my caseworker at the time. And Stella
Yeah.
came over my house. She came over my house right after I had that episode. No, yeah, she came over my house right after I had that episode. And Stella was like, Stella had been trying to get me to go to school. She had tried for a long time to talk me into going to school.
Okay, so thank you for sharing that. What a wonderful story. So let's get into these degrees.
Okay.
What made you decide to go back to school?
Well, like I said, as a child, I always knew I wanted to go to college. I always knew that. I don't know how, but I always knew it. I always had a love for learning as a child. And when I grew up as an adult, it never left me. Even 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 when I was homeless, I tried to get rid of the memories of wanting or the desire to go to college, but I still had it.
Yeah,
It, it
yeah,
wouldn't leave me alone. So
yeah.
and you know what? And being homeless for 20 years, I thought it was impossible. I thought it was no longer possible for me to go to college. I didn't think it was possible for me at all. Um, and one day, one day, I thought, I'm going to apply to go to school. You know what, Dr. Wendy, let me share this with you also. Um, when I was in high school, my guidance counselor asked me in my junior year what I wanted to do. And I told him I wanted to go to college. His response was immediate. He laid back in his chair and he roared in laughter. Oh, you'll never go to college. The best you could ever hope for is a vo-tech education. That's it. And I'm looking at this guy like, who the hell does he think he is? He don't know me. This man does not even know me and telling me what I'm capable or incapable of doing. So I left his office. I left his office. In my mind, I knew one day I'm going to shut his damn mouth. And I've done that.
Oh, big time, big time. So what did education represent for you beyond earning the degree?
you know, I think the largest part of it was it just affirmed to me that I could do it.
Yeah,
It confirmed to me that I was able to go through academia as I did. I went straight through it. I went straight through academia from an associate's degree to a doctoral degree, and without even thinking twice about it. I'm serious.
yeah,
I didn't really think about it. I just did it. I didn't plan to do it. I didn't plan to earn a doctoral degree when I went back to college in 2015. I didn't go back to school at Wake Tech with the intent of earning a doctoral degree. No, that was not
yeah,
my plan. My plan was
yeah,
just to earn a degree so I could look more attractive to potential employers. That was the only reason I ever went back to college. Because I was just coming out of homelessness. I didn't want to face an employer and say, "Hey, I was just homeless." I want to have a degree behind my name. So I earned my associate degree. That didn't seem to be enough. Because after my associate degree, no one hired me.
oh,
That didn't seem to be enough. So I transferred to Campbell University because I remembered I had started an application there some time ago. And I just tried it on a whim. I said, let me check Campbell, see if my application's still there. And it was. My application was still there. All they wanted for me to do was add my transcripts. I added my transcripts. I returned that I had to return that form to Campbell, and my next message from Campbell University told me I was accepted. Congratulations. And but the thing was, Dr. Wendy, I did not get accepted at Campbell as a junior as I had hoped to.
right.
My credits, most of my credits did not transfer to Campbell, so I had to start at Campbell as a freshman. And I did all 4 years in 2.5. And so I did. Yeah,
Wow.
I started at Campbell in 2017. I graduated in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. So
Okay.
we didn't have a graduation. We just had a kind of memorial, 2020
But you got
memorial.
your
And I was a part of the Facebook 2020 campaign that they did. I was a part of that. I was like in it for 2 seconds, but I was in
degree.
it. Then after that, I transferred. I still didn't get any work when I applied for jobs. I still couldn't get any work. So I said, well, maybe if I get a master's degree, maybe that'll help. And simultaneously, I was trying to have my criminal record expunged. I was trying to do that, and I was doing that through Campbell University's law school. Yeah, Campbell
Yes.
University has a law school called the Blanchard Community Law Clinic. Um,
Yeah.
They are phenomenal. If you have
Eh,
any clients, if you have any clients who need their record expunged, send them to them. Send them to them. But they've got my record completely expunged. It was expunged in 2023. Thanks. Yep,
wow.
thanks to the auspices of the Blanchard Community Law Clinic at Campbell Law School, downtown Raleigh. I'm so grateful to them. I am. Um, but
Wonderful.
even after that, I went on and I graduated with my master's degree at the end of the pandemic in May of 2022.
Uh-huh.
And then I immediately enrolled in a doctoral program. I started my doctoral program June 1st of 2022. So I had 2 weeks between degrees. I graduated in May 20, I'm sorry, May 15th, and I started class at June 1st for my doctoral program. Now, now, Dr. Wendy, please let me explain. When I started my doctoral program, I did not realize the doctoral program was a process as it is. You have to earn your way into
Yeah.
research. I did not know that. I just thought you just come in, you start researching, and no, it was nothing like that at all.
Oh,
I had to pass 13 classes. I had to pass
yeah.
13 classes to get
In your
to
dissertation.
yes. First, no, first I had to take a doctoral English class. I took a doctoral English class, and then I had to take 13 classes on top of that to earn
Yeah.
my way into research.
Yeah. You earned that degree.
Ooh,
That
yes, Lord. Yes,
oh
Lord.
my
Yes, indeed.
God.
Ooh.
Congratulations. So let me ask you this as we wrap up. What would you say to someone who's currently homeless and struggling with addiction?
The first thing I would tell them is don't give up on yourself. It's easy to do that when you're homeless. It is. When you feel like you have no help and no resources. It's easy to give up on yourself, but don't ever give up on yourself. And along with that, getting out of homelessness is a process, a long, intensive, drawn out process. You have to take a lot of no's. You have to have a lot of doors slammed in your face. Well, I did.
Yeah.
You do. You have to face a lot of rejection. You do. But you can't let that stop you or deter you from reaching your goal. You must remain focused and you must remain determined to get out of homelessness.
Yeah. What's one thing you want people to understand about people experiencing homelessness and addiction?
Well, the main thing I'd want people to understand about people experiencing homelessness or addiction is that no two people are alike. Everyone is not homeless because of a drug or alcohol problem.
Yeah.
Everyone does not come into homelessness being a drug addict or alcohol dependent. I didn't. I wasn't homeless because of drug or alcohol. Neither one. I started doing drugs and alcohol after I became homeless. So I didn't go in being addicted. I became addicted while I was homeless. And 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 also, I would just tell somebody that's homeless to again, don't give up on yourself. That's your
Yeah.
biggest weapon. Don't give up on yourself. Because you're the only one fighting this battle. No one can fight it for you. You have to believe in yourself. You have to keep your focus. As long as you keep your mind stayed on your goal, you will make it, regardless of any adversity that you may face.
Yes. So getting to the other side is possible.
It is possible, Dr. Wendy, getting to the other side. It's just a process. It takes a lot. You have to you have to get you have to get your knees scarred up, your elbows scarred up, your face. You have to take a lot of no's. You have to get drugged through the mud a lot. You do. You have to. It comes with a lot. It comes with a lot,
But
Dr. Wendy.
life has its challenges, you
And
know?
but if I may, Dr. Wendy, one thing I'd like people to understand too is I want people to realize to stop stereotyping people who are homeless.
Yeah.
They put homeless people all in the same melting pot. "Oh, they're homeless. You put them over there." Well, see,
Yeah.
first off, I didn't get out of homelessness because I was like other homeless people. That's not what got me out of homelessness. What got me out of homelessness because I was different from other homeless people. I had a different mindset than other homeless people. I didn't want to stay in addiction. I didn't want to have the mindset that I gave up. I didn't want to give up. I wanted to live. I didn't want to die. All homeless
Yeah.
people are not the same.
So it's not that you were better than any other homeless person. It was you had to change your own mindset.
Correct. Yes, I'm certainly no better than any of them, but I had to change my own mindset for my own survival.
So it's a personal thing. It's it's something that you have to do
It is.
within self.
It
Yeah.
is, Dr. Wendy. It's like it's analogous to the fight or flight synapses that are within our minds. It's fight or flight, live or die. It is.
Right.
It
Yeah.
really is live or die. And that's what I had to tell myself in order to get out of it. It's either like you either want to live or you want to die. The choice is yours. And I had to make
Yeah.
that decision. Did I want to live or did I want to die? I decided I wanted to live. I decided I was worth saving, and I am.
Absolutely. So I want to end with this, Dr. Watkins. If you could sit across the table from the man you were when you were homeless, struggling with addiction, and feeling like there was no way out, what would you tell him?
That's an excellent question, Dr. Wendy. I I would tell him, I would tell him, Mike, look within yourself first and foremost. You're far stronger than you think you are. You're far smarter than you realize you are. You're
Yeah.
far more focused and determined than you realize you are. Don't give up, Michael. You are worth saving. Fight with everything that's in you, Mike. Fight, because you're worth it. That's what I tell myself. It is.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Watkins, for sharing your story with our listeners. And the hope always with any episode that we have is to educate our individuals, our youth, our families, our community, to educate them, to inspire, to instill hope. And so, with your story, I hope that that is what happens. I'm sure it will. I mean, you just inspired me. And so, for people who may be experiencing homelessness or addiction, I certainly want to thank you for being honest and sharing your story so that it can let people know that you don't have to, your future does not, your past does not dictate your future. Change is possible with work and determination, commitment, and you can have a better quality of life. You don't have to stay where you are. It is possible to
It
have
is
that.
possible. It is
It,
possible.
yes, yes,
It's
yes,
possible.
yes, yes. So again, I want to thank you so very much for joining me, and I look forward to working with you in the future.